Hi friends, welcome back to my channel for another reading vlog. If you are new here, my name is Haley and I talk about all things books and reading and journaling on this channel, so thank you so much for deciding to join me for today's video. And if you're not new, thank you so much for coming back for another video. For today's reading vlog, I have been in a little bit of a reading slump, and one thing that helps me when I'm in a reading slump is to read books that I am very excited about. So today for our reading vlog, I have 3 brand new releases that I am super excited about getting into. So my options for reading are going to be Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This is the latest installment in the Hunger Games series, and although it's the latest installment, it is the earliest in chronological, well, actually that's not true. It's not the earliest in chronological history. This one should fall between the Hunger Games trilogy and the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, because I believe that one covered the first Hunger Games, if I'm remembering correctly. It's been a little while since I read it. So this one follows Haymitch's story, which should fall in between those two things. So very, very excited to get into this. I have done multiple reads on the original trilogy. I've only read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes once, but I would definitely read it again. And I think even though technically we know what happens in Haymitch's Hunger Games and in this story, I don't have all the puzzle pieces that make up that story, and I still think this is going to gut me. So that's option 1 for this reading vlog. Then I also have Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez, which is a romance book. If you've read any Abby Jimenez, I really enjoy all of her romance that I have read, and I am equally excited for this one, although I will say I think both this one and the next new release that I have as an option have had some mixed reviews. So I'm trying to go in with very, very low expectations, and hopefully I'll enjoy these. I recently read another contemporary romance from an author that was new to me, and that was actually an ARC copy, and I had seen that it was getting some mixed reviews, but I ended up enjoying it, so I'm hoping that that's going to be the case both with this book and with the next book. And then the last book that I have to pick from for this reading vlog is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, and again, contemporary romance. I've read everything else that Emily Henry has put out so far, so I'm really excited to get into this one. I would say personally that Book Lovers and Funny Story are probably 2 of my favorite Emily Henry reads. So I think everyone has very mixed opinions on her books. Some people hate Funny Story and prefer Beach Read or Happy Place. Some people hate Happy Place and prefer Funny Story. So I haven't personally hated anything that I've read by her. So I'm hoping that I will also be happy with this one. But yeah, I have noticed that it's gotten some mixed reviews. So both this one and the Abby Jimenez book, I'm not sure what to expect, but I have my fingers crossed. Hopefully both of them will be good and they will just exceed my expectations, because I'm going to go in with really, really low expectations. So that being said, I'm really hoping to get through all 3 of these in this vlog, but it may be more realistic that I only get through 2 since I've been in a little bit of a reading slump. I'm not sure how much I'll be able to accomplish, but my goal is to get through all 3 of them. So I haven't decided which one I'm going to start with first, but I will make that decision and I will catch up with you once I have some initial thoughts or I'm about halfway through the first book. Alright, I just wanted to pop in for a quick update. Please excuse the vibes here. It has been a crazy busy 3-workout kind of day, so just taking a quick second to hop in, and I figured you could handle my post-exercise vibes. But I decided to start with Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, and I decided to start with this one because I thought it might be the least sad of the 3, at least because I know in... My camera just had a super weird malfunction, and I did not like that. But I think I was saying that I picked Great Big Beautiful Life because I thought it would be the least sad of the 3, because in Sunrise on the Reaping, I know there's definitely going to be some character deaths, and then I do know that Say You'll Remember Me deals with a parent experiencing dementia, and that's definitely a hard topic. So I wanted to pick this one because I thought it might be the least traumatizing of the three books. And I will say so far, I do think this is very different from Emily Henry's other books. It's not necessarily following that same formula of present day present day flashback, where it kind of builds the reasons that the characters act certain ways through their flashbacks. Instead, this is done in a very like interview style, and it's focusing less on flashbacks with our main characters, even though I do think that some of that is coming. But I will say I'm really liking it, and I like that it's different. It's kind of giving me more of a Taylor Jenkins Reid vibe, just because it does have that like celebrity interview format. So I'm really liking it so far. I'm about 25% or a quarter of the way into the book, and I'm really excited to continue reading. So I will update you as soon as I'm finished. Final wrap up of Great Big Beautiful Life. I did finish reading this morning, and honestly, I think this might be my new favorite Emily Henry. I know there's been a lot of conflicted feelings about this book, and I definitely think I understand why. But I am totally on board with the direction that Emily Henry is going in her writing. I think the majority of the conflict is that a lot of people expect the same formulaic contemporary romance that Emily Henry has always put out, and this is definitely a departure from that. And so I think if you went into this expecting this to be a, carbon copy of all of her other works with new characters and a new point of contention for the characters that would lead them to have their third act breakup, get back together, etc., etc. That's not what this book is. So I think there are probably some people that are very attached to Emily Henry's style of writing and that not changing. But I personally, and in all fairness, I really enjoy literary fiction, so I think moving in this direction is not going to be as jarring for me as it is for somebody who only wants to read romance. I definitely think that this book in particular, a lot of people probably feel that it's reminiscent of The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I would say that it's pretty different because our main character is not the celebrity in this book, it's the journalist. But I think that this book, for me, was more enjoyable than Evelyn Hugo. And I remember back when I read that, which I will say that is my personal least favorite out of TJR's books. I remember when I first read that, the beginning part of that book, how it starts out with the journalist and kind of her relationship situation, whatever's going on there in her personal life. I felt like we never learned enough about the journalist, and we didn't get like the full resolution with the journalist that I would have liked if you were going to make her a prominent character at the beginning and tell us even that like little bit about her backstory. So that one primarily focused on Evelyn Hugo, and I don't have any issues with like the content in that book. I just felt like we were introduced to a character who technically was the person whose like point of view we were looking in on the story from, and that never really went anywhere. So I found that personally frustrating, where if it had been, I don't know, I just think if it had been a little bit different, I would have enjoyed that book more if it had been a little more fleshed out. I also wasn't surprised when I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by the kind of like twist at the end. I already understood where the story was going. So for me, that one just like wasn't the perfect recipe of everything. It didn't have everything it needed for me to be like an all-time favorite. Where this one, on the other hand, I think answered the things that I wanted from that book when I initially read it. So not that this is about comparing the two, but I do see that happening a lot in other people's reviews just because both books are about a journalist that's interviewing a celebrity and there's like a mystery component there, but I do think they are very, very different in the way that the characters are approached. So the journalist Alice is definitely our main character in this one, where our main character in The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is definitely Evelyn Hugo, and we're less focused on the relationship between her and the journalist and the ways that the journalist is unpacking things in her own life. So, enough about comparing the two books. Let's just talk about this one. I really liked all of the characters in this book. I think Emily Henry is getting into more of a gray area with characters, and she's a little more comfortable in sitting in that we don't have to be 100% good or 100% bad, or there doesn't always have to be a perfect explanation for all of our rights or wrongs to make us good people or worthy people. And I felt like this one just felt a lot more realistic than some of her older reads for me. I really liked the romance that was explored in this book. I liked the way that it developed, and I also really liked the interactions of Alice with the celebrity that she's interviewing, Margaret, throughout the book, and the way that that was unpacked. I was a little surprised by the twist at the end of this one, but I think that's because there weren't a lot of breadcrumbs that were left necessarily to lead you to put two and two together, which I normally do put things together before they're revealed in a book, so I liked that that wasn't super obvious for me. I knew that there was something more going on, but I just didn't know what it was. So I liked what that came out to be and how it was revealed, and then how that was all resolved by the end of the book. And I will say, for me, the last few chapters of this book absolutely had me crying. I was very invested in Alice's relationship with her mother that's explored throughout the book, and the way that things change in the end of the book was really, really moving for me. So I really enjoyed to see how this book wrapped up, and for me, overall, this one is going to be a 5-star. I really like the direction that Emily is headed with her writing, and I really hope that the negative reviews, or less than positive, I would say 3-star and below. Like, a 3-star is still a good book, but some people are being pretty brutal about this being a departure from her normal writing. I hope that that doesn't dissuade her from continuing to try new things in her books and explore more of this side of literary fiction, as opposed to just focusing on the typical contemporary romance that she's put out, because I think she's excellent at that. She knows the formula, she's done it many times, but I'm really interested to see where she continues to go based on this book. So that is Great Big Beautiful Life, and now the second book I'm going to get into in this video will be Sunrise on the Reaping. So I've already got the dust jacket off, I'm ready to go, and I am excited but anxious because I know this one is going to hurt me. So this is going to be the last book that I get to in this video. I'm not going to have time to get all 3 books in, but don't worry, I'm still going to get Abby Jimenez into an upcoming reading vlog, so don't worry, it's still going to get read. It's just not going to be in this particular vlog, so keep an eye out for that, because that's another one that's been highly contested online, but we'll see how I feel about that once I get around to reading it. For now, just going to focus on breaking back into the world of Suzanne Collins and the Hunger Games, and I'm prepared for the emotional damage, so we'll see how far I get through this today. If I don't get through it today, I will be doing some traveling tomorrow, so I might be trying to get in a little bit of car reading time, which can be hit or miss for me, so we'll see. I'm actually hoping that I can get through it today, so fingers crossed, we'll see what happens, but I will update you either at the halfway mark, or if I am just too invested, then I will update you when I am done reading this one. Hey friends, I am here for a final wrap up on my new releases reading vlog. So I did end up finishing Sunrise on the Reaping while I was en route and traveling. So I don't have any vlog footage reading, just because that wouldn't really work logistically, but I did finish this book, and I have to tell you, I'm kind of surprised. I don't know if it's because I've read all of the other books in this series, or just because I've been kind of slumpy, but this didn't really hit me emotionally the way that I expected it to. I really was expecting to be like absolutely crying, trying to get through this, but I honestly didn't shed a single tear reading this, which, if you know the content in this book, I feel like that makes me pretty heartless, but I promise I'm not. I did feel a little bit emotional. In particular, there were 2 parts of the book that did get me kind of closer to crying, but I was kind of reading in public, so maybe that's why I didn't end up actually crying. But there was a part earlier on in the book when Haymitch first is reaped and he's like being presented. They're doing kind of the introductions and stuff. There was a part during that that made me sad and a little bit teary. And of course, there were some parts throughout the games that I thought were sad, but they were kind of maybe a little too over the top for me. Like, I felt like the ways that some of the individuals died might have just been shock factor. So they didn't hit as much of an emotional blow as I was expecting them to. A couple of them definitely made me like recoil a little bit or feel grossed out or shocked, but I wouldn't say that they made me super emotional. And then there was a moment towards the end of the book when Haymitch is returning home, which I don't consider that a spoiler because Haymitch is in the original trilogy. You know he's a victor, so you know he's going to be the victor of the games described in this book. But I had, one moment kind of in that after image that made me sad and did make me tear up a little bit, but this didn't have like the full waterworks going. So I was kind of surprised by that, but I did really enjoy this overall. I think it's a really good addition to the Hunger Games series. And now that I've read this, I really want to go back. And I'm not sure if I want to read them in chronological order or publication order, but I do want to do a reread of the original trilogy as well as A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So that's something that I might get into before the end of the year. I'm definitely going to do that though if they are going to be releasing a movie soon-ish related to this book. I feel like the book just came out, but they've already been announcing cast members potentially, question mark. So I do think a movie is in the works, maybe sometime next year. So definitely before the next movie installment comes out, I want to reread all of the books and do a movie rewatch because I've seen the original movies. I haven't seen A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes yet, which I need to. And then obviously when this one comes out, that will be new to me. But I did finish this. I enjoyed it. I will say I have sat on a 4-star rating for this, so definitely not bad by any means, but I was predicting this to be a 5-star read for me, and it just didn't hit the way that I expected it to. Maybe it's just because it's kind of the same story in different fonts each time we get one of these books, even though I do think the point that Suzanne Collins is making in all of them is really important. I just feel like this one didn't hit me as hard as I expected it to, so that's a little bit disappointing. But overall, I did think this was really good, and I'm really glad that this has been added to the lineup of Hunger Games books as another part of the story. So, with that being said, I did finish both Great Big Beautiful Life and Sunrise on the Reaping in this vlog, and even though this was a 4-star and didn't quite hit as hard as I expected it to, I did rate Great Big Beautiful Life a 5-star, and I do, again, really think I like the direction that Emily Henry is going with her writing, and I really like that she's starting to explore maybe a little bit more literary fiction or women's fiction as opposed to just traditional rom-com contemporary romances. So I was really excited for this. I really, really enjoyed this book, and I'm excited to see where she goes next. So overall, I would say that this was a really successful vlog, and I'm happy that this has inspired me to do a reread of the Hunger Games books as well. But that being said, I do think that I might have to make this into a little bit of a series because I feel like we're in the heyday of a bunch of really great new releases coming out. So let me just show you what I've got since I started recording. So since I've started recording this vlog, I have gotten 2 additional new releases that I'm really excited about, so I'm definitely going to be doing a part 2 of my new releases reading vlog, and I'll be reading Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I'll be reading Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, and I am just so excited about both of these books, so I figured I might as well just go ahead and continue this series and continue with reading some new releases and vlogging it so you can hear my thoughts and feelings about them. And I will say, I do think both of these are 5-star predictions for me, so fingers crossed. I'm really hoping that they are, but if not, let's at least hope for 4 stars so I can have at least an equally successful reading vlog to this one. So make sure you watch this space, keep an eye on the channel, and look for part 2 of my new releases reading vlog coming out soon. And as always, thank you so much for being here and watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me and read some books together, and I hope you have a great one. Bye!